ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Nerdy for 30, the podcast where comedian Tim Keck and I talk about nerdy-ish things for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer, and you know, it hasn't been very long since we had the pleasure of talking about a perfect movie. It was only about a month ago when we talked about Top Gun Maverick and just gushed about the joy that it brought into our lives. And I'm thrilled to say we have another perfect movie with us here tonight. It is Prey, surprisingly only available on Hulu. Tim, are you going to fight me on this one?
A perfect movie. I mean, I think anyone who listens to this podcast would know what high regard Top Gun Maverick is. Like, you're just giving it, God, a real shoo-in for the Ryan Reynolds Award of Excellence at our end of the year. It's just Top Gun Maverick. I love this movie. This is a badass movie, dude. And have you seen any of the other Predator movies?
No. So I should also say that.
So you pulled a me for Top Gun Maverick and just went in completely blind.
It's funny because we watched the trailer for the original Predator after we finished watching Prey. And there were already a couple of moments from Prey where watching the trailer for Predator, I was like, oh, this is from Predator.
Yes.
So there's definitely a handicap placed on it from that. I don't think it's as good as Top Gun Maverick. Hyperbole aside, I should say that that was wrong of me to put it in the same class as Top Gun Maverick.
It was honestly really fucked up for you to say that, Kevin. Honestly, check yourself right now.
The apology tour is coming, but Prey was pretty damn close. I don't have many notes. I don't want to say it's that close to perfect, but I only have like two tiny little things I would want to change about this movie.
It's a great movie. It's so funny to me that this is like your entrance to Predator, because this is like far and away the best movie for
is
the
it really?
Predator. It's the best of the Predator movies. I mean, I haven't seen number 2 in a while, but this is like just a good movie. And the first one is good, but in like a 80s like action, like roided out monsters shooting like so many guns, dude. There's so many guns. So many bullets are fired. There's a scene where they think there's a predator out in the woods and just like 6 guys shoot thousands of rounds into the woods for like a solid 30 seconds. And they unload their whole gun, they reload their gun, and then empty it back into the woods. And they're just mowing down tree. It's like, it's so insane. It's such like masculine testosterone. I'm sure you've seen the memes of like the hands clapping, and like the big old biceps.
I had no idea that was from Predator.
Oh, it's from Predator. It's so good. It's like, that's like the vibe of the first Predator. And then they were just like, what if we took that and just made a kick-ass movie with like drama and tension and like character development? And it's awesome, dude. It's so good. This was such a good movie. It was great.
It's incredible. This movie is I'm going straight into Thieves.
I think you're a thief.
This movie is so efficient with its exposition. This movie does not waste any time explaining things. There's never a moment where, when the brother becomes the war chief, there's never a moment where they have to have this whole big conversation about where they stand with each other now, and this huge scene where it's like, well, as you know, I am the chief and I am getting older, so I need to pass the mantle of war chief down onto a younger member of the tribe, and so I have chosen Tabe to take this role. We see it happening. We know. We don't need to waste time on all that. Afterwards, he's like, you can't go out there. She says, is that you saying that to me, War Chief? Or something along those lines. The subtext is clear. It's all subtext exposition, and it's delicious. I love it so much. We are going to be talking about Day Shift next week. And about halfway through Day Shift, I turned to Lauren and I was like, this is the exact opposite script from Prey. They do so much heavy-handed exposition. And Prey is just this like sleek, you know what? It's survival of the fittest. And the Prey script fucking survived out there.
Dude, that is very interesting to hear. I agree. It's tight. It's nice. It's like, I think like from like just like a storytelling standpoint, you're right. And then just like from a cultural standpoint of like, I thought this was something that like Miss Marvel did pretty well. Was like, okay, you're showing me a culture that I'm not necessarily familiar with, and I don't necessarily need my handheld either. Like, just do the thing. Do the things you would do. Say the things you would normally say, and I'll figure it. Like, we'll pick it up. And then it becomes, instead of it becoming like something we're bogged down with having to learn, it's now like just a delightful backdrop on which like any of this stuff could work, right? Like, there's a way that the Miss Marvel script works without, it's just her just being a boring white girl. It's not as interesting. There's a way that this movie works where it's like, a boring white girl in the South, with like a shotgun in the woods, but that's not as interesting, So instead we have like all this other context, which is like very interesting. There's all this, like, I also want to get into like the online drama of like comparing of like the Predator of like, there's just a lot of like, incels out there who are like, oh, how did Arnold, because you haven't even seen the first one, but the Predator kills like 10 like jacked, roided out men armed with like all the guns in the world before Arnold finally takes it down. And in this movie, it's like primitive technology. It's like a girl who's like, oh, somehow a girl beat a Predator. Like, there's a lot of that talk online. And I think, but I at no point watching Prey did I think this is unreasonable, right? Like,
not in the slightest.
It all made complete sense. How she was able to beat it, how her brother was able to weaken it, how she was able to like observe what had worked and didn't work with other people and like learn and adapt and outsmart it and defeat it with its own tech. Like, everything that happened, I thought made complete sense. And comparing it to the first one, I think is just a lot is lost in that comparison. I think it kind of diminishes how good the story was in this movie.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, I gotta give you leeway to talk about that one because I've never seen it, but it seems like the one clip that I watched, just because I had no idea that the bicep like arm clasp thing was from that movie. I have always thought that was an oil painting. I had no idea that was a still from a movie.
It does look kind of like that, right? Like the meme.
It's wild. There's no reason either of those arms should be that big. It's crazy. So I clicked on that because that was the YouTube thumbnail, and my jaw dropped when I realized that it was ostensibly human beings with arms that looked like that. And the scene between Arnold and, is it fucking Carl Weathers?
Yes.
It is demented.
Dutch.
The look in Arnold Schwarzenegger's eyes is the scariest thing I have ever seen. He looks full blown insane. What's that thing where like when we say that people have crazy eyes, it's just that their eyelids are back so we can see more of the whites at their eyes, right? Like,
right.
It's something where we don't like to see the whites at the top and bottom of somebody's eyes. Arnold's eyes are all white. Like pinprick pupils in the middle. It looks like that episode of The Simpsons where I think it's Mr. Burns gets high. It's just like he has the craziest eyes I've ever seen. He looks like Phife Dawg in the Buggin' Out music video for all the Tribe Called Quest heads. Do you know that one?
No.
Oh, you're going to love that reference once I send the YouTube video to you.
Once I have all of the context and read all of the material and get caught up, I'm going to love that joke when I listen back.
Yeah, all one of our listeners that have seen that music video are going to love that one. So I'm interested in the original Predator. You mentioned that Arnold is able to beat this thing. Is it a contest of physical mano-a-mano strength? Because the Predator in this movie picks up a bear.
So this is one of the things that I think is maybe the best argument and makes the most sense for this being like a Predator movie, is that the way he defeats the Predator is he is like unarmed. At the end of the movie, he's like by himself. He's unarmed. He's got like a knife, and he figures out that, like in this movie, she eats the herb that like lowers her body temperature. Mm-hmm. So in Predator, it's mud, and he falls in the mud, and he realizes the Predator can't detect his heat signature when he's covered in mud. So Arnold covers himself with mud, makes a spear, builds all these traps. He has like a gunpowder explosion. He has like a log that drops. Like, he basically reverts to like his natural like using his environment. He builds like a bow and an arrow. He's like very much kind of like one with nature to like returning to nature to defeat the predator and to outsmart the predator when like brute force and guns don't work. So it makes, in my mind, complete logical sense that this would be an extension of that. If anything, people who had grown up in a culture where they've been doing those things for generations and generations and generations would have a slight advantage compared to Arnold, who was like just figuring that stuff out, right? Like it makes, I mean, who knows how much Arnold had shot a bow and arrow in that movie before, but these people grew up with them, you know, like they grew up using the kind of warfare that Arnold used to defeat the Predator in the first movie. So any criticism of this, I think, it's probably just some sexist bullshit or whatever, but it's like, this movie makes so much sense, especially in the context of the other movies. It's just, I think it all fits perfectly, and I think nitpicking that is kind of stupid, to be honest. The people are critical of it.
Dude, that's absurd. I had no idea about any of the online backlash. I hate it. I hate it. This movie is so good. She is such a badass in this movie. It's like you said, there's not a single thing that she does in this movie that I don't believe that she could do based on what we've seen from her in the beginning of the movie. And I mean, they are not shy in the beginning of this movie of letting her fail, which is incredible. I noticed that there are at least 2, maybe 3 scenes in this movie where she is armed and she is in a one-on-one setting against the Predator, and she gets away because she decides to run. Like, she takes the read of the room and she realizes that it's not going to go well. She gets the fuck out of there. Everybody else gets killed. So like we see her fail in those situations, or if not fail, like make the practical choice to leave. We see her fail when she's trying to fight the bear. We see her fail when she's trying to fight the mountain lion. Like, it really gives us those stakes and lets us know that she is not going to succeed every single time, which is something that I feel like we watched. I feel like a lot of people are afraid to do that with action heroes. We watched a video a couple weeks ago that breaks down the reasons why Jackie Chan fight scenes are so successful. And one of them is that even when the hero is like a master of the martial arts, they will find a way within that one specific fight scene to give the hero a huge handicap and take it down to a place where it's like, oh, I don't know if Jackie Chan can win this fight while he's tied to a chair, you know? Like,
right. And Jackie too, he gets hit, he gets knocked down. That's like his whole thing too, is like, he's like kind of taking abuse, and she fails a lot and she runs away a lot. And ultimately she outsmarts it, which is like such a more relatable story. I mean, if you're looking for badass masculine roles, I mean, her brother kicks ass in this movie. He's incredible. The fight scene with him just like running around on the horse and then like going after this thing, I was like, this is insane, next level. This guy is crazy. And ultimately it's showing that like his way works to, I guess, to some extent, but like she still brings a ton to the table, and she brings something to the table that nobody else has brought. And I think that's super cool. It's super empowering. It's super relatable. I mean, that's like a classic heroic trope, right? In storytelling, is like, I might not be able to physically beat you, but I can outsmart you. I can trick you. I can figure this stuff out. It was just, man, it's just so good. And the fighting, dude, the Predator doesn't look better than this in any other movie. This is crazy. Just like how cool the Predator is. All the weaponry, I feel like, looks amazing. Like, damn, this is if you go back and watch the first one, it's like the first Predator looks kind of like shit for a lot of it, but like the blurring effect too, like the invisibility they've gotten so much better at. But it just looks so good. Just damn, this is a good ass movie.
Tim, you mentioned the invisibility. I want to throw up the first beef of the night.
Where's the beef?
Go with me on this one. The point of Predators is that they go from planet to planet trying to prove that they are still the top of the food chain, right? Like they're trying to take down anything else to kind of like establish their status at the top of the food chain for sport, right? Is that kind of the premise?
I guess so. I mean, I wouldn't know if I would say food chain because that implies it's like eating something. They're kind of just like big game hunters. And I think in this one, I think even he collects skulls, right? Like he takes like the wolf skull or the bear skull or whatever, and they're all looking for trophies. And I think other Predator movies have been like, oh, they're collecting DNA so they can enhance themselves, which is kind of bullshit. But I think the general premise is that these guys are hunters. They're big game hunters. It's like if we went out and went bass fishing, or you and I tried to take down like an elk or something in Red Dead Redemption, like we're doing that shit. That's what they're doing.
Okay. So in that case, I think it's cheap that they use the invisibility stuff. Because if you're trying to prove that you're a better fighter than something, show up and stand toe to toe with it.
I agree. I think maybe to some extent it is mapping or mirroring like human hunters, right? Like if they go out and they hunt a deer, it's like you're in camo, you wear orange because the deer can't see orange. You're in like a duck blind. You're like doing all these things. And like that's still considered like, you know, equal sport or whatever, you know? So I think maybe it's kind of, it's kind of cool and adds to the suspense and like the horror element of it. But I do think at some level it is like kind of a critique or at least a mirroring of like American hunters, which is like, yeah, I mean, it's not what the Predator's doing isn't fair, but when we hunt, it's not really fair either, right? Like, what would it take for it to be fair? You know?
Oh my God.
But ultimately, it's like not about fairness, right? Because like the only way you beat a predator is by tricking it, right? So like you got to like put a trap it down there, you got to outsmart it. Like you have to make the situation unfair. So it is just, unless every time somebody went hunting, they like went out like naked and just like wrestled a deer to the ground and like bit its jugular out. Like, I don't know, like what else are we supposed to do?
I think that's the only way. If you're a real hunter and you really want to prove that you can take down a deer, get those clothes off, oil up. You know what? Don't even oil up. Do this. Use the friction. Do this one dry.
Unless you can find oil in the environment in which you are hunting, then you're going to be dry, my friend. Lube up with whatever natural lubricants you can find in your environment, in your body. You know, if you have to, whatever you have to do to make fresh lube, fresh deer lube, you do it.
Mm-hmm. You know, maybe you're smart with where you pick to do this. Maybe you go up to Vermont, maple syrup season, tap into a tree, or, find a tree that already has a hole in it, get sticky, launch yourself at that deer. He's not going to be able to get you off. It's like one of those things they do at a college involvement fair where you jump off a trampoline in a Velcro suit and you stick to a wall. That's that deer's life for the next 2 hours.
Yes, I believe that is how, the French settlers used to hunt back in the day when they came to America to catch caribou. They'd maple themselves up and then drop from a tree usually. But even that, they're dropping from a tree. They're running at it. It still feels like some kind of an advantage. I mean, they're not invisible, but unless maple syrup somehow covers their heat signatures in a way that the caribou, like, I don't know if enough research has been done on the hunting patterns of the maple syrup Frenchman.
I don't think it has been.
Is this movie as good if he's not invisible?
I guess that's the crux, isn't it? If he's just really good at hiding, that's kind of fun. Like
that's
Batman
so lame.
style.
That's so fucking lame.
That's all Batman does.
They're like looking at the predator. They're looking at the predator, and he just like pokes his head out from behind a tree, and then like ducks down real quick, and then he lifts his head up, and then he hides on a tree, and they're like, "Predator, is that you?" He's like, "No, no, it's just a bush," he says in his weird predator language.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. I gotta concede that one. It just feels weird to me because it's when your technology is that far past the technology of the people that you're coming into fighting. It'd be one thing if he came and he was like, I'm going to fight humans because this is the most technologically advanced species on this planet. But he comes and he fights a bear. And like there should be tiers. There should be weight classes for predator engagement.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the first Predator, he ultimately ends up taking off his armor and fighting Arnold man to man.
Oh
but
my
it's
God.
still a gigantic predator beating the shit out of a human person. So it is
Sure.
like, it's awesome. But it's like there's no equal footing here. I mean, this is a space monster that's probably as intelligent or if not more than us. Their technology is definitely better than us. And their weapons, damn, dude. The weapons are so cool. The weapons she finds are cool. Like, it's neat. The Predators figured out some stuff. I heard that some of it's like different than what it was like in canon or whatever, but I don't know. It's great. All the gauntlets, the 3 dots.
Yeah, the 3 dots. Let me ask about the 3 dots. Did you follow in this movie that the, I guess, metal arrows, bullets, whatever you want to call them, just go wherever the 3 lasers are pointed? Because that kind of took me by surprise when she killed it.
Really? I think the 3 dots are like a laser, like a scope, like on a rifle or something like that, where it's like just a dot.
Mhm.
And then when it shoots, it like goes where the dot goes. So I think it's like more like being targeted. Like, I don't know if maybe it's like a tracing element to it. I don't know. That is interesting. I mean, but as far as like enjoying the movie, I was like, oh, 3 dots. I was like, oh, fuck. Like, that's a classic Predatorism. The 3 dots is like quintessential, you know, that's a good one. There were also, are there any lines? I do want to ask you this, knowing that this is like an homage to Predator. Were there any lines that stood out to you as like, oh, this is from Predator? Was there anything that you were like, oh, this has to be a reference to something?
Are you talking about the most out of place line in the entire movie? If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Yeah, that's so funny. Did you know that beforehand?
No, but as soon as he said it, I was like, this was the tagline on the poster in 1987. Were there any other
That's
ones
so
they
true.
reused?
That's so true. I think there was something like, I don't know. There's another one where it's like, come on, or something. I don't know. There's some other weird reference.
Get to the
something.
chopper.
Yeah, there was something like get to the chopper. There was another one that's like get moving or something like that. I mean, the mud thing in this I thought was super interesting because they basically showed that they could have run the mud back from Predator 1 and instead it's like an obstacle for her, right? Like Arnold was rescued by the mud, and in this movie it's like this is an active danger to her. Like it could have killed her, and like the I don't know, the symbolism of that I thought was great. There's some other like weird references to stuff. You know, I don't know if you've seen in the first Predator, one of the guys who I think is Native American does this thing like right before the Predator comes where he just takes his knife and he like cuts across his chest like in a diagonal line, like to psych himself up. And the same thing is done to her brother. Like he gets the whatever, the trappers or whatever cut him like in the exact same way that this guy cut himself in the first Predator. Like there's some little things like that are pretty sweet. So it definitely feels like it's like in the canon, but man, I think anybody could watch this movie and just have a good time. It's great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
The only like minor beefs that I have with it are things that I could see kind of putting people off that I think are totally unnecessary. One of them is just there's a scene we cut from a conversation between the protagonist and her mom, and then I think we cut straight to like a spaceship dropping down and then zooming away, and then we see the Predator activate active camo or whatever in the foreground, and it's pretty bad CGI. Like as the movie goes, this is definitely the shakiest moment. And then we cut to I think her and Tabe heading out into the woods, and it's like, no, didn't need this at all. Did not need that. Completely could have taken that out. Better movie for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I that felt very reminiscent. When I rewatched the first one recently, and it's just like there's some just god awful CGI footage at the beginning of like a ship coming in. I watched like Predators or whatever the previous one was to this, and they all kind of open with like some weird shitty spaceship like fight scene or something, or somebody's running away, or I don't know. It's just bad CGI and ships and things, and I'm glad they didn't focus too much of the budget on that. You know, like good for Hulu. They fucking went for it. They did it. Is this your favorite Hulu movie?
It's between this and what?
I don't know. The Princess with Joey King.
Have not seen that one.
It's the only one I've seen.
Not seen that
it's
one.
like such a good premise. Joey King, who's the one? Oh, she's in Bullet Train. What's her face? She was in some Netflix show.
I got nothing. The Princess? I'm looking it up.
There's some movie called The Princess, which I was like, it's kind of fun. It's just a girl, a princess is like trapped in a tower, and she basically fights her way out of the tower for the entire movie, and it's awesome.
Oh shit. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's bad, but fun.
Wow. It has a lower audience score than a tomato meter.
Okay, maybe I should shut up. I just feel like I've been very generous with all these movies. I like to know what they are. Once I know what a movie is, I'm like, okay, this sucks. This is fine. There's like we're going to talk about Dave Shift. Very okay movie that I enjoyed immensely. This one is a good movie. I think this is a good movie.
I think this is a legit good movie. I think it's sad that this one didn't get released in theaters because this is a theater-worthy movie for sure.
It's kind of crazy. It's on Hulu, right?
Yeah. This is a beautiful movie. It's got an incredible score. The visuals are incredible. The fight scenes are incredible. There's not a bad actor in it. Like, it's amazing. It's so good.
Is this like we should do like an episode with like our made for the service rankings.
Ooh,
like, where would this stand against everything that like Netflix has made? Everything Apple has made or whatever, like movies. I feel like it's up there for me. Maybe I'm forgetting some stuff from Netflix, but that's kind of how Netflix is. They make very forgettable stuff.
With the exception of Mitchell's versus the Machines, which might take the top spot. That movie is unreal good.
Multiple airplane rides I've spent with Mitchell's and the Machines.
Oh, it's so good.
First the Machines.
It's up there. That's
so good.
This is like, this is maybe a contender for the number 2 spot.
Man. Okay. Got any more beefs? Got any more shit to talk?
I think the only other like kind of beef thing I had is that I didn't necessarily follow the arrows going directly where the lasers were. There's just so much more that I love about this movie than I would have any complaint about. The entire fight scene at the end with the Predator was incredible. When it has the shield and it's jamming it deeper and deeper in the rocks, she just rips its like mouthpiece off. Oh my God.
It's so good. It's so good, man. I don't know. I feel like this is a boring pod. We just both liked it. It's like, cool. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. This is good. It's fun. It's a good movie. I had a great time. I'm totally going to watch it again at some point.
Yeah.
I would recommend for everybody to see this. Jeez, I mean, I don't know. Dog was cool. The tomahawk stuff was neat. You know, I love a tomahawk. Tomahawk on a rope. I got to say, I don't feel like there's any world in which this actually works. But for in a movie, I'm like, sure, whatever. I would love to see someone online like figure out if this is actually possible. I feel like there's no way. There's like 0% chance this works. Tomahawk on a rope. Like, how does it not get tangled up? How do you not get hit in the face with a tomahawk? It's crazy.
What's that YouTube channel with the armory? It's like the something armory and they do all those weapons.
I don't know what they do, but this is barely a weapon. It's a tomahawk. It's a stick, a rock, and a rope. Like there's nothing to this. If you use this with modern technology and you went in the lab and you designed the perfect tomahawk and the perfect rope, I feel like there's still 0% chance that this works. It's crazy.
There's no way. There's no way it would work. I really want to see those guys. There's that YouTube channel where those guys go through and they have like a dummy in the middle and it's like this stupid medieval background and metal music is playing and a dude comes out and he's like, I'm with this channel and today we're testing a 12-foot long knight sword. And then he goes through and like, the videos are cringeworthy as hell, and it's so fun to watch them. I really want them to do one with a tomahawk and a rope. I don't for real because they would end up stabbing themselves, but like
they would die for sure.
Oh my God.
This is a crazy weapon. And they're just like, oh yeah, this is for like cutting up turnips or whatever. They're like, oh, your dad gave you that so you could like farm with it. And I'm like, what? The tomahawk? The thing that NFL teams stereotype, your entire nation with? That was just used to clean up vegetables? You kidding me? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It was just very funny. It's cool that she had her unique thing.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that she had, for some reason, there's a world where she's the only one who has access to a tomahawk and a rope. And it's great. It's good.
They
It's
were
just all
so
good, man.
they doubted her. They were like, you got to put your tomahawk on a leash.
Yeah. Dogs off leash, tomahawks on leash. That's how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Should we wrap this up, Kevin?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. This has been Nerdy for 30. If you like what you heard, go ahead, give us 5 stars. That don't cost you nothing. Just drop 5 stars on there. Come on.
Drop them on.
Not this time. It's okay. We'll get you next time. Hey, speaking of getting you next time, if you got anything you want to say to the show, go ahead and email it to nerdy430@gmail.com. 30 and that is a number. So it is nerdy4 and then the number 30@gmail.com. I can only assume that
That's the
whoever
problem.
whoever has nerdy for 30 spelled out, they're getting so many viewer mails. Listener mails. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. We should have gotten that email address too.
We should have. It's probably too late now, right?
Can we buy it from that guy?
I don't know. He seemed like a real dick.
He was very aggressive with us.
Extremely aggressive.
Yeah, and that was
Kept
just
his
over email.
tomahawk off leash. First off, I thought it was horrible he had one in the first place. He was a very white man. He looked like he was from Washington.
Now I'm just picturing like entering a fight with somebody and they pull out a tomahawk and you're like, who cares? It's just a tomahawk. And then they pull out a rope and you're like, whoa. And then they start tying it to the tomahawk and you're like, fuck, I can't believe it. This is going to be, I'm going to get my ass kicked. Yeah. Anyway.
If I saw someone pull out a tomahawk for a fight and then tie a rope to it, I was like, oh, I got this. He's going to be dead in a minute. I don't have to do anything.
Very true. All right. Stay nerdy, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.